It's time for a chocolate and coffee break. So grab your cuppa and let's listen together to stories from people of all walks of life that will touch your heart and reveal that opposites are the same. I'm your host, Andrea Putting, and this is Chocolate and Coffee Breaks, where we bring people together in the spirit of love and acceptance. Today my guest is Oksana Samkova, and she is originates from the Ukraine and has been travelling since she was 20, and has had a lot of experiences in the different ways that people treat each other, I would say, because we come from different ethnic groups and we learn all these different things, and somehow we try to mix it all together. And she's been living in Australia for 5 years and works as a registered nurse. So she's got some pretty exciting stories to share with us today, I am sure. So welcome, Oksana. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm so happy to be on your coffee and chocolate break, as I do. I'm very happy to see you again, even online. Beautiful.
Yes. And it would be lovely if we could sit down together, but things
it will
are
happen.
what they are.
I'm a optimist. Positivity number one.
Yes. And of course, it's chocolate and coffee break. So have you got some chocolate with you today?
Oh, yes. I've got chocolate.
Awesome. So is that one of your favourites?
It's one of my favorite. I do love dark chocolate, so I always love the darker the better. But sometimes I like a little bit of flavour in it. So
you've got the orange.
Yeah, I just fancied a bit of orange in this dark chocolate today. So I thought,
beautiful, very nice. And I have complete the opposite. White chocolate today, and this is berries and cream.
Oh, yum!
I quite like white chocolate.
Are you quite a sweet tooth?
Not too much, actually.
Okay.
Surprisingly. But this is beautiful one from the Ministry of Chocolate, and
wow,
so good. They have
that looks delish. That looks yum.
Yeah, I'm going to dig into this. Yes, and I've got a cuppa ready to sit and enjoy our conversation together. So I'm really looking forward to talking with you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you.
Well, let's start with a question from my little conversation pack, my conversation chocolate and coffee.
They look lovely.
And the question I've got for you today is, what gives your life meaning?
Wow, that's a big one for the morning. I better sip my coffee first. Nurses and coffees, it has to be.
Yes.
What give my life meaning? I would say I'm in a helping profession and I really enjoy to help others. This is probably number one for me. I do get big, huge, massive satisfaction of being able to help someone, whether it's professionally, personally, spiritually, in any other way, culturally, any other way. And also happiness. I love everyone to be happy. So I just feel very positive and bring smiles around, and just kind of I see everyone united as as one. I don't really differentiate people where they come from, what country they are, what language they speak. I've learned it from a very young age that we are very similar, although we, as you say, from different areas, but similarity. We're just one. We're just like one, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. So you're very much on the page of what chocolate and coffee breaks is.
Yes, that's right.
It's that feeling of opposites are the same.
Absolutely, I love that.
Yeah.
You could see I'm wearing my Ukrainian Ukrainian vyshyvanka, we call it. So that's a cross stitch shirt. and different areas in Ukraine, regions have different colors and patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's been done. My mom did this shirt for me, so this is been hand cross stitch. So this is quite precious for me. So we also celebrate today Independence Day of Ukraine.
Yes.
It's been 30 years,
30 years,
1990,
yeah.
30 years of independence of
And
Ukraine.
that's wonderful, because I also know that 31 years ago yesterday was when the Baltic countries celebrated that, had the hands across the Baltic, and Estonia has been celebrating its 31st day of year of independence again. So it's a special time, because I have an
Very
Estonian background,
special.
which I haven't divulged. That's why I'm talking about Estonia. So that is a really special time it's a special time for us to be talking.
That's true. In fact, I grew up on Baltic Sea, in a little small place of Russian Federation at the time, because I grew up when the Soviet Union was still as one, and of course the Baltic countries were still part of Soviet Union,
Yes.
Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and I was born and lived in near Kaliningrad, which used to be German town Königsberg, but it's been taken over by Soviets. So that's where I grew up, on the Baltics, until from when I was born up to 12 years old. So I'm very much used to that weather, and being, I remember always raining, like grey skies. So that's quite normal for me. It was. And also, I know I've got my great grandfather from my father's side, he's Latvian roots. He's got Latvian roots. So I'm always I look a bit more like a Baltic country girl rather than Ukrainians, because Ukrainians, they're a bit more dark hair, a bit more dark eyes, if you look at, but yeah, so that's right. So that's where my life started. So my dad was military officer in the Soviet army, and he traveled all over the world, and he settled he was posted on the Baltics. My mom was a teacher originally, but she was teacher of Ukrainian language and literature. And when she met my dad and then moved to Russia, she couldn't work as a teacher anymore, because the main language was Russian. Yes. And everyone had to learn Russian. So she went and worked in a communist party as a youth worker, as an educator. So that was a kind of very much communistic upbringing at home. But in the same time, we used to go every summer. We used to go to my grandmother to Ukraine for 3 months, because in Russia and Ukraine those years, children, even now, children have 3 months holiday from school. So they end school in May and they go back to September. So what you do with those children for 3 months, God help, with poor parents. So everyone was sending kids to, to grandparents. So everyone would have, who's lucky to have grandparents, or summer camps or anything like that. So we were lucky to go to my grandma and granddad, who had a farm in Ukraine. And we had absolutely beautiful summers, 4 grandchildren every summer there. And we experienced country life in Ukraine, looking after animals, helping with crops, doing all the works what we need to do on the farm, and then go back and live in the city for the rest of the year. So that was always a bit of mixture of both. Yes. And absolutely loved it. And from young age, I heard I've seen different cultures. My grandma, because during Soviet Union, religion was not embraced. They were denying religion, because Communist Party was the religion, really. Yes, I mean, they don't call it that, but you know.
Yeah.
As I say, so I was all very much a Karl Marx, Engels, and Lenin in this, being taught at school, and then I go to grandma and she's got icons of God in in the corner and she's praying. So
Yeah, what?
a bit of both, like, yeah. So my grandma was also she was like a natural healer as well. So she was collecting all the herbs. She was doing different potions, like, to help people with the tummy aches or headaches or things. And I think she was, looking back now, she's probably was. I see it now like a healing energy, like Reiki, but she wasn't calling it Reiki. She was just doing her own whatever natural healing thing. So that's what I was experiencing from one extreme to another. So that was my upbringing. So that was that. So I lived on Baltics up to I was 12, and then my dad was posted to Mongolia with the army. So we followed him to Mongolia. So I lived in the middle of, it was a military a little compound with the schools and the post office and the club, and for the families of military families. And so we lived there for 2 years, and it was very different because then, for the first time, I suppose I met people who are looking different than me, in a different ethnic background, different culture, completely different culture, different language. And it fascinated me. It's really fascinated me because we were very different, but at the same time, we had children, Mongolian children at school, at our class, who were learning Russian, and we could just converse and have a normal conversation with them, and just learning about each other's backgrounds, which was interesting for me. So I'm like, okay, we're just kids, we're just at school, and we didn't really, to me, I never looked at them different. Yeah. Because once you pass that initial, okay, you look different, but you're very acceptable to, probably curious. So what's your life like? What do you do? So for me, it was always interesting.
Yeah, and I find that that's part of the thing with children. If they're just in this setting and they're able to just enjoy each other's company, then they're just going to be children.
That's right.
There's no bias or anything against the other child. It's just playtime.
That's right. And I think it's a big part of it plays with the upbringing in the family. So all the prejudice and all, controversial things comes from education. So if you hear something very, let's say negative about other at home, if you feel something negative about other cultures, then of course it will be imprinted in your head. But luckily, my parents were very open. They were very acceptable to everyone. They treated everyone with respect and hospitality. So we've always been brought up in that environment where everyone is the same. So I suppose that's how we've been brought up all the time. And I remember we had Mongolian family came to us for dinner and, lunch, and we just sat around, we just spoke. And I suppose the language was we spoke the same language because Mongolians learned Russian by then and they worked together. So that was really interesting for me. So from young age, I started to find fascinating other cultures and other, countries, how it is. After Mongolia, it was 1989, and everything was happening as you imagine.
Yes.
So Soviet Union was collapsing.
Yep.
And my dad had to choose to go back to Baltics to serve Russian army, or go to Ukraine and serve Ukrainian army. So it was like a choice of that because Soviet army was collapsing.
Yeah, it would have been a very hard time to be in the army with the Soviets because
that's right.
I know the stories, so yeah.
Yeah, so that's right. So my mom and dad decided to go to Ukraine and settle in Ukraine because we had better connections, family relation connections there, and that's how I ended up in Ukraine. So I came to Ukraine in 1989, and I was coming to my 15, being 15. Like 14, 15 by then. so that was quite good. I mean, I find lots of, because I've changed lots of schools, I found it easy to blend in with
Yeah.
everyone because I just be myself. That's how I always find, through school, you just, be yourself, and you always find someone who is similar in interests and similar character to you. I never strive to be, one of the top girls in the class, or I was just a normal girl, in school, and I played music, and what else? I was, I loved all the arty stuff, and I wasn't very sporty at all. So I suppose it wasn't kind of sport wasn't for me, like catching up with, like a team sport. But I always enjoyed people. So from Ukraine, I was, I've decided I wanted to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And those years, you couldn't, it was quite difficult to get in a university because you had to had a top score to get into uni.
Yeah.
And what happened, one of the entry exams was Ukrainian language.
Oh no.
I was there just for a year, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I know how to speak Ukrainian, but I never actually, grammatically, I never learned it. Although I can read, but if you have to do dictations or anything like that. So my entry exams, I didn't get enough points on Ukrainians to enter a free university. And I had an option of, they've only just started introducing a pay option. And my family didn't have money by then because it was all kind of happening, and inflation, and all the savings went poff, and people were saving all years, and then suddenly it's all was worth of a loaf of bread. Literally, It was a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
But I never expected anything from my parents, really, because they've given me my upbringing, education, and I never expected them to give me anything. So I was brought up like, you have to just do it yourself. They will help you on the way. So I've decided to go overseas because it was only then they've started opening the borders and everyone started going somewhere.
Yes.
So I've heard that
we're allowed to leave.
That's right. You were not allowed to leave. So
right
West,
now.
the Western. I was brought up. The West was bad. Everything was bad from the West. So kind of like I hear one stories, and then I'm being in a different country. So it's a lot of controversial things going on. But to me, as growing up, I just took it as it comes, really. So I've decided to go to. It was a group of doctors and nurses going to Africa, to North Africa, to Libya, and they were going to work there and earn money. And I thought, well, what a great idea. I can go and earn money and come back and go to university.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that was my idea. And I had to work I went to, I missed that. I actually went to nursing college first before I went to university, because I thought, okay, if I'm a nurse, it would be easier to get into medical university. It was just kind of that flowing thing going. So I thought, okay, so I'll work as a nurse for a couple of years and then go and earn some money and then come back and do university, being a doctor. So I left and I worked in a desert, in African desert, for a year.
Wow.
I know. I was 20. Yeah. And I have to say thank you to my parents, because they let me go. I was very determined. Child, and they knew if I wanted to do something, I will be doing it. So they were very supportive of me. And I remember my mum saying to me, her parents let her go and explore and live different countries, and she would do exactly the same for her children, because she knows this is opening your world, opening opportunities. So very much, she gave me blessing, and they just trusted me that is everything going to be fine. Well, I thought I'll go for a year and earn money and come back, but it didn't work like that, because there was always a catch, and the money was not as what promised, and I was very naive being 20-year-old in the Arabic world.
What was that like?
Well, It was tough, I have to say. The first year was very tough to be there because that's probably the first time I've experienced that my own people, my own country people, not necessarily your best friends.
Mm-hmm.
This is really, really interesting. That's probably the first time it hit me. Because I remember it was 30 of us, 30 people, 30 nurses and doctors. And I was quite excited saying, oh, we're all together, we'll kind of work. And someone who already been there and they were returning back, they said to me, you watch this, you're going to step down from that airplane and you'll forget these people are your country people. That can't be true. I did not believe it until I seen it for myself. So what I found is, I don't know why, but for some reason, people got a little bit, they got defensive into themselves and they were very much for themselves. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like more like, oh, we're a group and we're sticking together. I found it really unsettling and I couldn't understand why. But perhaps they never lived somewhere else and maybe they were threatened by the situation around. Maybe they wanted to maybe they thought it was a competition or anything like that. So we were giving a job, we were living on the hospital side, but we were in the middle of the desert. It was a little oasis city, town. It was on the border of Algeria and Tunisia. And you kind of were imprisoned in that town because to leave the town, you needed permission. To leave the country, you needed a permission. When you would leave the hospital, you will know there's someone following you, like a guards walking behind you, seeing where you're going. So you're very much watched all the time. So although you haven't been told this, but you are feeling that pressure. And also you're thinking, well, if something happens, because those days you didn't even have mobile phones or anything like that. So I had to go every week. I would go to the post office and we had an arrangement with my mum and dad that I will phone them on Sunday. Yep. And I will give the number to the post office and they'll call, booth 3, whatever, and you pick the number and then you just speak. Of course, I never told them about how difficult it is because I didn't want them to worry about me. But it was very tough. It was very tough. And also, I didn't realize I was the youngest there and pretty looking, blonde, blue-eyed. And I think I had a very unpleasant experience where the manager of the hospital was probably thought that I didn't come there for work and was trying to employ me to do something else, which I wasn't happy to do. So that was it was big hurdles to me. And I think I had to fight for myself, really, not physically, but mentally, to stand my grounds and just to be strong and know that that's where I found my core values and what's true to me. Yeah. And you have to just follow what's right for you, because I knew that I could not do something which people ask me to do I'm not happy to. So I had to stand my grounds, and I had no fear. As a young person, I had no fear. My dad was a military officer as well, so I wasn't really scared of any shouting at me or threatening me. I think I was very, very strong then. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard, and after 3 months battling through, not complying to what I was asked to do, I've been sent away to a different place, away from my group, just as a punishment, to another hospital, which was actually a blessing in disguise. But what I found with my own people there, when I shared what I was going through, they didn't understand. They didn't understand why I wouldn't comply. So I was shocked, because I said, well, I'm not happy to do that. And they're like, why? Well, because I'm not. So I really found that very unsettling then. Yeah. And I found that your own people from your own country, not necessarily your best friends. Your best friends who who are on the same page as you, who thinks the same values as you. That's when I started learning about values, really, what important to you. And so, of course, I was sent to another hospital, and I had no one there who spoke my own language. And although I could understand about 5 or 6 European languages, I was with Hungarians there, which I didn't understand any of Hungarian, because I can understand Czech, Slovakian, Slovenian, Polish, Bulgarian, you know, you name it, but not Hungarians. Yeah. And I was working with them, Romanians here as well. And and also with girls from Philippines. So I've learned to make friends, you know, from learn language. You know, I had to learn Arabic. I had to learn English because I learned German in school. So English was new for me as well. So it was a lot of to take on, and it did give me a huge, massive life lesson in 1 year. It was almost like a
lifetimes of
it is. But what I found through that, I found that no matter what country people are from, you find connection, and you cannot explain why that connection is, but I think you have similar values, similar interests, you know, similar maybe, you know, visions or missions, as you say. So it's kind of just treating everyone with respect and the same. And I think that's when you find your good friends there, and you help each other and be open-hearted and, you know, just be true to yourself. So after that, my ordeal, after a year, you know, I've realized that it's going to be a long way until I earn money for university. So I've decided maybe I will be a very good nurse instead of a doctor, and it will open opportunity for me to go somewhere in different countries. And I can't even remember. So after a year, I've changed the hospital, and I went to work in the capital, Tripoli, capital of Libya. And that was a bit more open. You know, we started getting more friends from just expats, so it's just the foreigners as well, but also with the local people who worked in the hospital. So we had good communication and treated everyone the same, multinational, multicultural. So you just have to respect everyone's cultures, and you just do your own thing. And so that was quite interesting. And I believe that's when I met some Australian teachers who actually influenced me they were so lovely and very friendly and open and just happy and talking about Australia. And I thought, what a beautiful country. I would love to go and live there. And I think that's planted a seed in my head to go to Australia. So that's where it all started. But of course, on your life journey, you know, not always everything works as you plan, because I met, there's always man involved in migrations. That's my kind of joke, because I met an English guy in Libya. Mm-hmm. We were together for a couple of years, and then we decided that we're going to go to England instead. You know, England, because I wanted to go to Australia, but he's like, oh, you know, I'm from England, so okay, let's go to England.
England, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, I didn't want to go to England. Nothing attracted me in England because it's rainy. It's, you know, I just expected them all walking in the, you know, in like Sherlock Holmes kind of type, you know, with a kid. It's just one of those things. So I went to England, again, working as a nurse. And my English boyfriend at the time, he decided to stay behind. And he didn't come with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Like, okay, so I'm in England now.
You've made me go to England and you're not even here.
That's right. So it changed his mind. And I thought, well, now I'm going to Australia. So I thought, oh, you know, I'll stay here for a year and then we'll go to Australia. And again, another Englishman was in my way. Which I married to and had 2 beautiful sons, and we lived there for 15 years. And after 15 years, well, probably 12, 13 years, we've decided together to migrate to Australia, because my husband knew that I wanted to go to Australia a long time ago, and we decided to make changes, and we migrated to Australia. So, and that's how I ended up here.
Mm.
And again, I wanted to come to Australia for almost 20 years.
Yes.
And when I got here, I just remember that feeling that I'm home. This is so crazy because I never was in Australia. I've never been to Australia. I never visited or never lived in there. But the minute I stepped on this land, I just felt I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I can explain it. And if anyone ever felt like that, that's how I felt. When I lived in England, I loved England and I had lots of friends and relatives of my husband there, and I really enjoyed it, but I never felt at home there.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm really, really happy when I got here. So for me personally, I love people around here who are very friendly and they're kind of, always family orientated, very close community. It's just, I don't know, I just got really, really good feeling about all this. So unfortunately, life never works as you plan.
No.
Or fortunately, things happens. And about a year and a half, about 18 months ago, I have separated from my husband. He's still here. So we both decided to stay in Australia because we love it here. And it was a very, very difficult time, I have to say, to be, living by myself with children. We share children, but that where I found that you rely on your friends a lot, and you know who your friends are as well. They're very close, and they're always, happy to help, and when you're in distress. So that's beautiful. But how I found, regardless of what culture or what country people from or what language they speak, it just takes me back to Libya again, to the desert, where I remember one of my first weeks in the hospital, and I remember this Arabic nurses sitting there with us, and they don't speak English.
Yeah.
We don't speak Arabic. So we just sit there, and we literally had to learn from each other
how to communicate with each other.
Communicate. So it was until you exceed all your, sign language and everything else, they would start drawing pictures and movements. And it was just fascinating, because it was fascinating, but we had the connection. We didn't speak the same language, but we had a connection. And that's interesting. I think it's willingness of exploring what other culture is like and accepting they are for who they are.
Yeah.
And of course, being in so different countries and cultures I found I was always a bit accommodating into the country I was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say, in England, I was connected to my own, to people who speak my own language, but I was very accommodating. It's just the way how my relationship was working, that I was very accommodating to the English ways. And at the end of the day, when I've separated, living by myself, I kind of felt like I lost a little bit of my authenticity. So I was just trying to embrace it more and look in and find within what actually really, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? Because the usual question people asking me, so where are you from? That's the first question whoever asks, whenever I go, they'll ask me, where are you from? Where's your accent from? Because my accent, obviously I've got an accent.
Yeah.
And where's your home? Or what do you call home? And I've been asked this question so many times. And to me, the answer would be, my home is where my heart is.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe I've got Ukrainian roots. I'm very connected to Ukraine. That's my roots in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived in different countries, met different people, different cultures. And I absolutely love it. And my home is my heart is, because I create home where I live. So this is my, my authentic self, always my hospitality, my kindness to people, treat them as equal. That's my life motto, I would say. I meet someone and I'm fascinated where they come from, what they do, because I know how difficult it is, can be in a different country and, experience all this. So I do understand how it feels.
Yeah.
And I've got really good friends who I met through my working career, and we're still friends for like over 20 years, and we don't see each other my best friend, I haven't seen her for 5 years now. But we always communicate thanks to social media.
Yes.
And it's beautiful because, you always have connection with my Ukrainian relatives as well, and everything else. And I love mixing things. Like, I will have some Ukrainian stuff, I'll have some other culture stuff. So wherever I go, I will collect things that interest me and mix and match it as well. So that's probably, So looking into happiness, how to find happiness. I think happiness is within.
Yes.
Happiness is within, and I often find people who came long time ago from overseas and they live in a different country, they try to recreate their own country in there.
Yeah.
But it's not always works, because you have to blend it, and you can't really live with those rules where you used to live 50 years ago. Everything evolves, and we're all, let's say, children of the universe, and we're all migrants. The world migrants, because we're migrating all the time. We all come from somewhere. We have connections from different countries and different cultures, and we're all mixed, together. So I just see we're very, very similar. I treat everyone very similarly.
It sounds to me like you've had those experiences that are really what chocolate and coffee breaks is all about opening up and saying to the next. And when you see somebody, you know that they're different, you know that they've got a different language, you know that they're from a different culture, but seeing past that and to being able to understand who they are and just to treat them as anybody else, and to give them that opportunity to express themselves and to create friendships. So listening to your story has been a wonderful example to us to learn about how we can go to other places, we can be with other people and create lasting relationships, and that's really important and of so much value to us. So what is it that you're doing right now? Where has all this journey taken you to that you see in the future?
So I'm still on my nursing career. So I'm being nurse now for 26 years. So this is my ongoing professional journey. But last year, I've recently discovered this very, very passionate, amazing group of people who are you part as well, Andrea, and that's how we met, called Speakers Institute and Speakers Tribe, where it's a group of people who are passionate about making difference and positive changes, and also bringing their idea and helping others with what they come through. I've stumbled across by chance, and I've met all these wonderful, beautiful people who've got their stories, and I'm always fascinated by stories, because through my life, I love the stories and how they overcome it, and how they use it through in their own life and helping others. So I'm involved in Speakers Tribe, and I'm being a leader in Speakers Tribe now. I'm being a shadow leader by getting there. And my own passion is, of course, is to connect people. That's my passion. Connect people and make the world better. And I also am working on my own personal idea, but something I've experienced as being a nurse, where nurses experience a lot of exposure to others' suffering and others' trauma through their work, and it affects our personal life. So I've stumbled across vicarious trauma in nursing and frontliners, and that's what I'm researching and bringing out. So I'm hoping to help others not to get caught in it and not to get burned out, and to recognize, and also help ourselves to carry on in a healthy manner, helping others in a healthy manner for ourselves as well. Yeah. So this is my passion.
Wonderful. There is just so much value in what you're doing, and you have so much to offer to the world, and I'm very grateful that you were able to come and share with me this morning and share your stories of living in 4 different continents and how that has opened your eyes to the simple fact that opposites are the same.
Absolutely. I love that, Andrea. Opposites are the same. This is so true.
Yes.
So true. I love it. Absolutely love it. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for having me on your coffee and chocolate. And I think I'm about to have some chocolate.
Me too.
Which is really good. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Oksana. It's been a real pleasure. And we'll be back next time with more stories from around the world. Thank you for joining me today on Chocolate and Coffee Breaks. To download our resource pack for your own chocolate and coffee break experiences and join our community, head on over to www.chocolateandcoffeebreaks.com. Join us again next time as we explore more stories that will touch your heart and reveal that opposites are the same. Meanwhile, share a chocolate, have a cuppa, enjoy a conversation, and change the world.